So new at 5, a Metro woman is paying for a decade-old debt that isn't even hers. Her wages are garnished $700 per pay period.
Channel 2 consumer investigator Justin Gray's here. And Justin, she may be on the hook for that money. That's unheard of.
Well, Karen, how do you prove that a decade-old debt was not yours? It's harder than you might think. And the way the wage garnishment system is set up, it might not even matter if the debt really belongs to you or not. This is the lease.
That's the lease.
It's a lease for a Stone Mountain apartment from more than a decade ago, all the way back in 2009. Signed by Cheryl Dunn, who skipped out on thousands of dollars in rent.
During that time, I was married and homeowner.
The real Cheryl Dunn tells us she only found out about the lease and the debt after a debt collector started garnishing her wages more than a dozen years later in December, deducting money directly from her paycheck.
Over $700 per pay period.
But not only does Cheryl Dunn say she never rented or lived in that apartment, she also long ago reported that she was the victim of identity theft, even signed a sworn affidavit with the IRS back in 2011 stating her identity had been stolen.
You just feel violated, you feel helpless.
Georgia law allows debt collectors to go after these old debts and also charge interest that can add up to be more than the original amount owed.
And it might feel like it comes out of nowhere because it was so long ago.
Jillian Sandt is an attorney who specializes in helping customers fight debt collectors. She agreed to look at Dunn's case pro bono after Channel 2 Action News contacted her.
I've actually seen a lot of identity theft cases, and they seem to be increasing.
Georgia law allows debt collectors to renew judgments every 7 years. They can do that indefinitely, meaning years after a debt, they can garnish your wages without warning, like in Cheryl Dunn's case.
Over time, if you are renewing this judgment, it's going to grow and grow and grow and grow and grow, and suddenly, when life is better, you're going to get hit with this massive garnishment.
But these are just old files from years.
As an identity theft victim, Dunn's scared to throw away old records, so she still had utility bills, student loan statements with her real address, and her ID theft affidavit with the IRS, all to prove to the judge she could not have rented that apartment. But it did not matter. Her challenge of the garnishment was rejected by a Gwinnett County judge.
This seems so obvious, so simple. It seems like this should be an easy fix.
Well, unfortunately, when we're talking about a case that happened, judgment so long ago in 2012, 2011, it's hard to go back and fix things from that perspective.
To the courts, it doesn't matter how much evidence Dunn has to prove she never rented that apartment because the debt collector has this document, a sworn affidavit from 2012 stating that Dunn was served a summons about the debt that went unanswered.
Once there's a judgment in place, you have to undo the judgment to even get to assert those defenses, and that can be an insurmountable hurdle.
So in the eyes of Georgia law, the garnishment is legal. Cheryl Dunn has to pay directly from her paycheck. Whether the debt was legitimately hers to begin with doesn't even matter.
I feel like I'm not only the victim to the identity thieves, I'm a victim to our system because I have no one to help me.
And some big new developments here. Just 24 hours before our story was scheduled to air, the debt collector, they dismissed the debt. This fight has been going on since December, but now it finally appears to be resolved. Attorney Jillian Sandt, though, warns it could still be reinstated in the future. I spoke with Channel 2 consumer advisor Clark Howard, who says garnishments like this, they're not uncommon.
I hear from people all the time that are faced with bills for debts and you can't even figure out what they are. So before you take that debt at face value, follow this advice. Threatened to take legal action, attempted to collect debt not owed, false statements. Just a few of the nearly 200,000 complaints received by the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau about debt collection since 2019. If you're contacted by someone claiming you owe a debt, don't just pay it, but don't ignore it either. The absolute first thing you need to do is ask for proof of the debt in writing. The debt may be expired, which happens after several years, in many cases 7, or maybe debt you never owed. Debt buyers will often purchase old debt, sometimes called zombie debt, for pennies on the dollar and try to collect the original amount from you. Harassments and threats of filing a lawsuit are common. They may even offer to leave you alone if you pay a portion of the debt. Do your research before you pay a dime. If you do receive a court summons, don't ignore it. Ignoring it automatically makes you responsible for the debt. Go to court and demand proof that you are the owner of that debt. This is truly a case where what you don't know can hurt you. You don't want some UFO bill collector coming out of nowhere. Set up an account with creditkarma.com where you can track your credit for free, day in, day out, and they'll automatically send you alerts if there's a change to your credit. I'm Clark Howard.